Enter the Vake! Hey guys, what's up? Summer11 here with my review of Fire Emblem Awakening for the Nintendo 3DS. This game saved the series from death. That's right, folks. This was almost the last game in the series. It seems like the idea of a game being the last one is all studios need to save a company or series. Did you know that a similar situation happened to Square with Final Fantasy? Final Fantasy was almost the last game that Square made. Years later, they're about to have their 15th game. But this video isn't about Final Fantasy. This video is about Fire Emblem Awakening and how it saved Fire Emblem, and I'm glad. This series is awesome. So, for this game, the story focuses on a group of soldiers led by the Prince Chrom, and they happen to run into the main character who is lost and suffering from amnesia. It's a tale of war. That's all I'm going to give you. I've been criticized in the past for not giving enough of the story in an anime review, but I like to do that because I don't want a large amount of the story spoiled for me or a large amount of the story spoiled for you. You know, if I'm telling you the content is good, then it's good. If I'm telling you right now this is a good game, buy it. The main character can be customized, but I prefer the character as it was intended, so I left him the same and gave him the default name. Fire Emblem Awakening is a strategy game in which you control various units who can use weapons like swords, hammers, bows, and more. There are also characters that can transform into creatures and ones that can ride on creatures. The game even has magicians. There's just a lot of things to do and a lot of things for you to play around with and find the right team for you. The game has two modes, casual mode and classic mode. Casual mode means that if your characters die in battle, they'll return after that battle. But if Chrom or the avatar dies, it's game over. In classic mode, if your characters die, they die for good and then you move on. That's why the game provides you with so many characters, I'm guessing. I played on casual mode because, honestly, I didn't want my characters to die, and also, I think it would be kind of difficult for your characters to die and you get these new ones, you don't know exactly how they work. And I mean, some of the later characters are better than the beginning characters, but that also depends on like how much you use them, how much you train them. So it just depends, and I found myself using later characters because they were stronger and they were more around my level. But again, that's up to you. That's like a personal thing. You'll see it when you play the game if you haven't played the game already. Now, I said there was a lot to this game, but I lied. There isn't a lot to this game. You have a large map in which you can move around to fight enemies or continue the story. The game starts off with a little bit of gameplay and mostly story, but as it goes on, there is much more gameplay than story in this game. And there's a problem with this game having more gameplay than story. That's a problem for me, at least. You know, for an RPG, a long story is key, and this game takes a little over 20 hours to complete. That's long, but that's not too long. And some of the battles begin to drag and get boring. The battles are basically two armies going against each other. The game is on a grid in which you can move around a little bit each turn and then reach your enemies, and you fight them. You might not kill them. You know, it just continues. And sometimes the battles get a little unique, but overall it's the same thing. Luckily, they have an option to skip through them so you don't have to constantly sit there and watch the characters fight. This is definitely important if you're grinding or replaying old areas. Some of the areas are unique, you know, in structure or whatever, so you can move around, you can hide behind like walls or whatever, but like overall there's not that much death. You can I forgot what it was, but you can go to a tower and you can get something like restored or something. And one of the towers that are like located in the game and some of the battlefields. I don't know if there are any other battle options. I mean, sometimes you have to protect people. Sometimes you have to like go find people, but overall it's mostly fighting. So, while in the battle, there's a support feature in which you can match two characters together. This causes the two characters to become closer once they land a successful hit. Characters also protect each other in this state, and they can even do it when placed next to each other. The support system is key to the marriage system in the game. It's fun playing matchmaker with the characters, but I wish there were canon relationships that I could just stick with. I don't really like picking out who goes with who. I would just prefer like, oh, this character, you can do this, but this character, these two characters were meant to be together. I would love for like a guide from the creators to have, I would love to have a guide from the creators to follow. The support system is great for leveling up characters. The game does get harder briefly, but it also gets to a point where you're just too strong. I don't think I should have to up the difficulty to enjoy the game. I think a normal mode should be challenging enough, but overall, this game is easy. And there isn't much strategy in this strategy game. I just put my characters out there and I had them fight. Once they got a good relationship with each other, it became way easier because as the support system like improves and stuff, they start protecting each other more and they start helping each other out more. I actually didn't know when the marriage would come into play in this game because I went into this game pretty blindly. I only knew like one thing about the story, but everything else I kind of just didn't know about. So I just put my characters together based on their conversations and who looked good together. And maybe it would have been harder if I had done classic mode, but I didn't want my characters to die. As your characters get married and you progress through the story, other events are opened up to the map or on the map to which your characters can have children that can be used in battle. I will not be explaining how the children are made as that's a spoiler, but it's a fun feature. The characters may turn out differently depending on who the parents are, but that's just exclusive to hair color and maybe their clothes, their clothes color or whatever. There's no other variation. The game lacks depth in various areas. I had a problem with this feature as it was never really explained. You know, it just happens, which I think is kind of bad. You know, the marriage system just happens. You know, there's no introduction to it, and I don't think the game had a manual because games don't have manuals anymore. So you learn about a lot of this stuff in the beginning. You're paying attention, and maybe they talked about it, but I don't remember. It's just like I wish I would have learned. I wish I would have known more about the marriage system going into the game. I like to switch my units up. I like to switch my units that are paired up in the game, but the game wants you to pick one person so they can get married, and it's like you're Cupid. And there are fun little scenes with the characters as you get to see how their relationships grow into romance, and they even switch it up and have some women ask for marriage, which I loved. I love that we get some progression. Yeah, it's 2016. This game came out in 2013. Late review. Characters can't be recruited if you kill them or don't talk to them during matches. I didn't know this, and I pretty much went into the game blindly. I don't wish to replay the game, but I wish I had a way to recruit those units. You know, I didn't know about it, and I'm almost thinking about starting a new file, but I normally don't do this. This game just doesn't tell you a lot of things. Also, you always have to have Crom talk to someone that you suspect that you can recruit. Don't make a mistake and kill one of the kids like I did. And I like casual mode because I didn't have to deal with the deaths. Not to offend fans who like that mode, but it seems uninteresting to have characters die. I heard this game is empty without them. Also, it shows how unimportant most of the characters are due to the overall story. The game is filled with colorful dialogue, and not just in the support conversation, but also in the main story. The problem is that I can't help but think some of this is just fluff, and like the characters, it doesn't matter in the long run. I wish the game was fully voice acted. Throughout the game, characters usually grunt or say a catchphrase. We're in a modern age. I feel like most, if not all, RPGs should be fully voice acted. We had a great cast with this game, and I'd love to hear them say some lines, because the game had great lines that I quote and I like to say, and I love hearing the characters say them, so why not have them fully voice act the whole game? I don't even know if the next game is fully voice acted, so for the next Fire Emblem, which may come out, I don't know, maybe in 2 years or something, if they make another one, get some voice acting. Get some full game voice acting. Sorry, something was on TV and I wanted to look at that. Okay. So, with the children's system returning in the next game, it seems like the next game will have a similar plot. Also in the next game will be the same art style. Fire Emblem has had various artists, and I just wanted to mention that the character designs in Fire Emblem Fates look very similar to this, where characters almost look exactly the same. And it's like, I like the art style, but the art style needs to, the artist needs to work on making the characters more varied in style. The game gives you a lot of characters, but I wish the game was longer. 40 to 60 hours at least. I spent around 22 hours on this game, and some of that is just from training. I said at least 2 or 3 hours. Well, I say that at least 2 or 3 hours can be cut off of that, because that's just some of the hours I spent on training. and I didn't get to use a lot of my characters. Heck, I barely even used the main character. Many people have told me that the main character is one of the strongest characters, but it's annoying early on in the game if he dies or Crom dies, because it's game over. And I don't feel like going through that multiple times. I went through it, but I stopped using the main character like that. I stopped using the main character. So my main character is very weak. So yeah, I used him less because he couldn't really defend himself that well. Plus, getting game overs is just super annoying. I like the game, but it didn't do that much for me. A big part of the game was spoiled for me. Some story elements seem like anime or manga or video game cliches. That's not a problem at all, but they just didn't do that much for me, at least. I won't spoil the ending credits, but the way they were done, I would say they were done very well. And the ending of the game is great too. There's plenty of DLC, which amounts to over $50, and I want to buy it. Why? Because I want more Fire Emblem and I want to train my characters more in a story mode type of setting. I tried to play the game after the story mode and it was just kind of boring. I had like a few things that I didn't finish with the game, but some of the later stuff like after the main story is kind of hard. I'm thinking about playing Fire Emblem Fates in the classic mode from the start. The game would really benefit from more features, maybe an online mode where you could fight other players, and there would definitely be some strategy involved in fighting other players rather than the computer. Overall, Fire Emblem Awakening is a good game. I hope this review didn't come off too negatively. Also, it sounds a little bit boring because I just recorded another video, so I'm sorry about that. I thoroughly enjoyed it and I will definitely buy Fire Emblem Fates. I was thinking about buying it day one when I originally typed this up in my drafts, but Fates is $80 and it's sold out online. So I will get the game eventually, but not right now. But I need to follow a guide on marriage, children, and etc. I want to get all the units on the first go. I don't want to play the game over. And I like the game, but not that much to replay it for those missed units. And I like the game, and I want it a lot more after I finished it. And I'm still thinking about getting the DLC for this game, and I'm still thinking about getting Fire Emblem Fates. Thank you so much for watching my review. I hope you enjoyed. I have a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you'd like to follow me on those accounts. See you next time, and peace out. Have an awesome day, guys.